Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. I'm about to start the show, but I want to make sure you've gotten my best-selling book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It will show you how attackers look at you and systematically target you so that you can turn around, divide your life into sectors, and target each sector of your life yourself. That way you can then turn around and build better defenses, have better plans of action, mitigate the vulnerabilities that they would exploit, and understand their avenues of approach. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's got 2 workbooks that go with it. The threat assessment workbook and the defense assessment workbook. You do the threat assessment first and then take that information and apply it in the defense assessment workbook. And for the children, The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. It's a book of pictures that you give your children that has lessons built into it, but then you go to teamlittlebigs.com, you get the lesson plans, and you teach your children through the pictures. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. Get all these, and I guarantee you'll make your homeland safer again. Let's start the show. This is Jonathan Gilliam back on the Experts Podcast. The truth has arrived. So, we've had some incredible podcasts over the past couple of days from Will County and talking to a lot of the Republicans here. They've done an incredible job with they're putting people in a position, which is exactly what should be happening. They're putting people in a position where they can actually try to take the area back, because as I've been pointing out over the longest period in time, is that it's not just the presidency that you should be concerned about. It's also the local and state governments, because the reality is that's where a lot of stuff actually happens. At the local level. The leftists are moving faster at the local level than you can even imagine. There's cases where, as I've been here in Illinois, I'm hearing about sheriff's departments that are being led by Democrat leftist sheriffs. And what do they recruit? This is always a problem. They recruit other leftists. And I don't know if you realize the danger of that, because sheriffs have a tremendous amount of authority in a state. And this isn't just happening in Illinois, it's happening all over the place. But what they then do, which I've seen here, is that the Fraternal Order of Police may actually be led by some of these people. And what do they do then? Then they endorse or they back people that are leftists. See, there's this whole game going on. So while Trump let's hope and pray that he gets reelected, the reality is that even if he does, at the local level, they will continue to attack and push their ideology forward. And that is how you get into a position where you get out to get gas at a gas station and they're forcing you to put on a mask to get gas. It's unbelievable. I've been across this country, and the stuff I'm seeing now is ridiculous when it comes to these masks. Remember, I believe I know the virus is real. I had it. I've seen people close to me die from it that were elderly. But the numbers are inflated because of these leftist governors who implemented mandates so that they would put COVID positive patients into these elderly homes and mentally disabled homes as well. They were putting them in there. And so the death numbers are extremely high. And no telling, a lot of these people got released before they even knew that they had COVID. They went home to their elderly spouses and gave them COVID as well. So all these deaths could be attributed to the governors. And if you look at the graphs, you will see that in the beginning, from March until May, the death rate was astronomical as compared to the infectious rate, but that's not the case now. So it's almost as if we can't even look back and base the future and how we're going to respond to this based on what happened before, I would say, the middle of May. But you see, because of these leftists that are spreading around, the way that they act, the way that they react, this is what you're going to see. And it goes far beyond, transcends the virus. It's how they spend their money. It's how they are going to defund their police. Some of these sheriffs are actually backing people who will defund the police, as crazy as that sounds. So, during this process of coming here to Illinois and being a part of helping them raise funds to back a lot of these people. And, I've had several of the candidates. I've had George Pearson on here, that is the chairman of the Will County Republican committee here in Illinois. And I'm trying, as I go around the country, I'm trying to do what I can to promote them and show, and then guide them from what other people have done in other groups and areas, to help them understand how desperate this issue is and where we are in this fight. One of the interesting things is that when I was there last Friday for a fundraiser, I met Emily Cahill. And she stood out, like what are the things for a disco ball? She stood out like a disco ball in the sea of, it was all wood inside that place. Most of the people showed up there wearing jeans. And here was Emily wearing this lovely dress, because she said she didn't know that it was going to be a casual thing. So she showed up, dressed to the hilt. I think that's what they call it in the South, dressed to the hilt, or to the nines, whatever they say. And I was introduced to Emily, and what a beautiful soul. What a beautiful soul this person has. And she has a story that everybody needs to understand, because as we look at what's happening in front of us, it's difficult for a lot of people to realize what is occurring, because we live in the environment, and most people have been locked down in their homes. When you take... it's like when you boil a frog. You put it in warm water and you turn it up slowly, and slowly the frog will be boiled, and it won't fight to get out of it. It doesn't realize what's happening. And those of us that live in this environment, as things change, we may get frustrated, but we don't know all the stuff that's happened. We can't really see it because we're in it. Emily has a very interesting story, because she, as she will tell you, was in prison for several years here in Illinois. And while she was in there, when she got out, and her telling of the story is way more fascinating than this, but when she got out, it reminded me of The Walking Dead, when the lead in The Walking Dead went into a coma in the hospital, and when he woke up, everything was different. Everybody was dead or changed, and so Emily goes into jail in 2016, and then she gets out not too long ago, and everything had changed. It was completely different. And so I'm going to let her tell you in her own words about that. But what's interesting is she's one of the things that changed in her, or maybe I don't know if it changed, but at least you've really taken a leap into trying to change things, is that you're extremely a profound supporter of law enforcement. And you went to Kenosha when these riots were happening, and this elderly gentleman who was trying to protect his business got beat up. You were there. You actually talked to him seconds before that happened. And we're going to play that audio. But I want everybody to know, I told a little bit about yourself, but let's talk about you, where you come from, how you got into the life that you did, and what changed while you were in, and that's changed you. Because the person I'm meeting now, and I've been around a lot of people who've been locked up. I've been around a lot of people who should be locked up, and you definitely come off as somebody who has their head in the right place. So what happened? What was your journey? What was your story?
Well, my story is like some that are out there. I started being an addict to deal with what was going on in my life. I didn't have the greatest of upbringing. I was raised by my grandparents. My mom was in and out of my life until I turned about 21, I believe it was. I had a daughter at a young age, and I put her through the ups and downs because I was an addict. In 2016, I caught my case and was sentenced to Department of Corrections, Well, I sat in the
Well, now you've been in trouble how many times throughout years?
good couple dozen. Okay. And it was just for like possession of marijuana and just stupid little things like possession of alcohol by a minor and nothing actually violent or anything that would have sent me to Department of Corrections. Mm-hmm. So in 2016, when I caught that case, that was a reality check. I had never been to anything like that. I'm from a small town outside of Galesburg of 248 people. There was more than 248 people in one part of the X house. Wow. So it was very scary that first night. Then anybody that's been in there knows that they aren't quiet. They yell and they scream and knock on their doors all night. You're not allowed out of your cell except for a shower for the first 7 days. You don't have shower shoes. You barely have any hygiene. Mm-hmm. So it's not a place that a normal person would want to go back to. So it was really scary for me. I had many nights crying alone in those cells, scared. And then one night I just broke down. I couldn't do it anymore. I knew that I had to give it to God because I was not strong enough to get over it myself. Mm-hmm. And I started learning coping skills while I was in there because there was nothing really available for recovery while you're in there. Mm-hmm. There was one place, one house on the whole compound, and that is it. And there's almost 2,000 women there. Wow. So your odds of actually finding recovery while in Department of Corrections is very minimal.
This is what kills me about this is that we said, and I've talked to Bernie Carrick about this, who spent 3 years in prison for something that he should not have gone to prison for, and he was put in there with hardened criminals. And he was telling me, I think I told you this the other day, that there were people in prison with him who didn't renew their fishing license, their company fishing license, and they put them in prison with rapists and murderers. And it's not rehabilitation.
No.
There is no rehabilitation. In fact, many people, for them, it's really getting a master's degree in criminology.
Yes.
Is what it really boils down to.
Really, it is. And they don't make it inclusive to you and your case. Mm-hmm. So I was a minimum violation, which was possession of meth. I should not have been put in there with baby killers and murderers. Mm-hmm. My first person was a baby killer.
You mean a person in my cell? In your cell
was a baby killer, and she was crazy. By I believe day 10, I was in SEG with a broken leg because I got into a fight on the A wing because of who they put me in there with, right. And I had never been in there. She'd been to prison before.
So they associate with her, or it was a fight with her?
The fight was with her and her girlfriend, and then the CO actually picked me up and dragged me by my neck to the SEG unit. They threw me in a hot box with my leg all janky.
SEG unit is a segregation
unit.
What does that mean, actually?
It's where you're in a cell pretty much all day. Mm-hmm. You get out every 3 to 5 days for a shower.
By yourself?
Yeah. But they put you in this little metal cage in the shower.
And you were put in, I mean, the fight happened, so you were involved with the fight, but you were fighting for your life, basically.
Yeah, because they jumped on me. There was about 2 or 3 of them that ganged up, and we were fighting. The cops came in. They picked me up, picked the other lady up. My leg was literally jangling. One of the COs said, "Hey, her leg is clearly broken. You guys can't be doing that. She can't stand up." Mm-hmm. The CO did not care. He had me by my hair and by my neck and dragged me to the hot box.
And when did you go to the hospital?
I didn't, actually.
They never fixed it?
No. My leg, I'm still gimping because of it, and I still have a messed up arm because of it. But they take you to the hot box. The hot box is this, I believe, 4 foot by maybe 4 foot plexiglass box with metal bars around it. And you sit in it. It's 100 and some degrees, and you are sweating profusely. They tell you to undress. You have to sit there then naked for about an hour. COs walk by. They do have a little curtain that they pull, but it doesn't cover anybody. Mm-hmm. I don't know who they think they're covering. But they'll sit you there for hours. I was sitting there with
And the COs are the prison guards
correctional officers who are male and female, yes. And they walk by.
So they're walking by and you're naked.
Oh, yeah. It's a regular occurrence. Actually, if you look back in the records in 2016, Department of Corrections was sued by a federal, a victim's right advocate lawyer, I believe was what he was classified as. But he sued Department of Corrections, and they won for mistreatment of inmates while in SEG and mental health. Because if you are SMI and you get put onto House 14, they put you on a watch. For that watch, it could be anywhere from 3 days to 30 days, and you are in your cell naked.
What's SMI?
Severely mentally ill. Mm-hmm. That is what they deem you in prison, and then they give you an X amount of drugs to try and maintain you while you're there, to make you not fight with people or make you suppress to what you're supposed to do.
And that wasn't the case with you. You were just getting put in a position where you
Yes, I kept getting put in rooms that I didn't get along with these people. And I couldn't deal with it. I'm not that type of person.
Right.
So I got into a few fights, and a few times in SEG, I realized I can't keep doing this. And then I was sitting on house 4 that one night, and I broke down and I cried because I realized I can't go back to prison. I can't go back to that lifestyle, because not only was it killing me, it was killing my family. I have a now 12-year-old, but she was 7 at the time, and she was at my waist when I went in. And when I come out, she's at my shoulders wearing a bra.
Right.
So that was very, very, very hard.
Yeah, that was an impact.
It was.
Well, it was. I mean, listen, I'm glad it was an impact.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was. And because that's what we want. We want, there has to be, even if God's the one doing your rehabilitation, and he'll rehabilitate you if he wants you to rehabilitate it. But it aggravates me to death that there just is no, that we put people in prison, and we give these private companies, who run these prisons, a massive amount of money, and there's just no rehabilitation, none at all. Even with Securus, who got the tablets into Department of Corrections, and actually 3,600 institutions across the United States, sold it to these institutions as education reasons. There is not one bit of education on these tablets. So you're talking about like an iPad type tablet?
Yes, they have them in prison. And there is supposed to be education and books on them and stuff to help them recover.
And everybody has one?
Majority of them, they're actually supposed to be free, but they charge here in Illinois, they charge $125.
And do they have internet access on those?
Yes, they do, but it's only through their GTL server. So you're only allowed to get the games, you're only allowed to do the phones, you're only allowed to do the music. And you have to pay monthly subscription for everything. It is
any music they want?
Only on the selected list.
And what game? What kind of games?
Only the games that GTL provides.
Which is what type of games?
Just like casino games. There's Frogger. There's nothing that's educational.
Right.
There's nothing really drawing. It is pointless.
First-person shooters?
No, actually, there is not any first-person shooters. Surprisingly.
No, I know,
but there's casino ones, which is gambling enough.
Right.
Should be.
Very interesting. This just the decisions that are made in this type of environment are so odd to me.
Very much. Yeah. Very much.
Now so you went through all this stuff, and you said when you got out that you were shocked by the way things had changed.
Yes, very
Let's talk
much
about
so.
That.
For one, the cost of living had gone through the roof. The cost of milk was up to like $4.50 a gallon. It was insane. The price of meat, it was $10 and something a pound for the grass-fed meat at Jewel. Just the way everybody was, nobody cared about anybody anymore.
Right.
They only cared about themselves, and everything that was being fed through the news and through everybody is just all lies. It's crazy what you see now when you actually go into these communities, and my old community, and talk to people. It's
and this was 2016 when you came out, which is interesting because I did almost a whole show on the fact in 2016 is when media all changed and the anger changed. Right when Trump was about to get elected, all these people, it's almost as if somebody in media or in television said a key word that just enraged people. And now it's like it flipped the switch, and now you can't even find out why they're angry. And things changed. The narrative changed. The media stopped hiding the fact that they were backing one side and one side only. And the lies got more intense. And all these things just occurred in 2016 on.
Yes. And you can really see it prevalent nowadays, especially that this is swinging one way.
Yeah.
Like if you even try to do certain things on Facebook, as we've seen just at the beginning of this month, they're going to be restricting what you post if it doesn't go with their guidelines, which is more of a democratically filled agenda there if you look at it.
Were you conservative when you were growing up?
Actually, I was more Democratic until I got to going in it would have been when I got sentenced, I would say. I started seeing how the wool was being pulled over people's eyes in institutions.
Right.
And then that made me look that it is all political, The people that are making these moves are not your cops that are on the street.
Right.
They are not the judge. These are the people in politics. These are your senators and your lawmakers that are making these decisions. So that's when I realized that if I want to change anything in Department of Corrections or the way my life is going, that is what I have to do.
So at that point, it was almost too late. At that point, you were already moving forward to get in.
Yes, I was already going into prison. So I just took notes on scribbles and tried to remember what to look at when I got out to try and see if I could stop this from happening.
And you mentioned scribbles. I want to go into that a little bit later. But just remember that word scribbles, because we're going to talk about that. It's an app that you've developed or developing?
Developing right now.
Right. So, and I love the name, Scribbles. So let's fast forward now. You got out. You're like waking up like the guy from Walking Dead, where you're walking outside and like, what in the world is going on? And things have changed. How long was it before you were like, I got to do something? And how did you decide to start getting involved in the Back the Blue rallies?
Well, I decided after about a month of being out that something needed to be done. My passion is trying to help people. That's why I started Scribbles and Sis Ministries. But I got involved with Back the Blue events about 90 days ago. And I started going to some of their rallies that they had in Chicago and Soki and a couple other little places.
And how long was it before you got to see the reality of Black Lives Matter?
The first event. Very first event.
Let me ask you this. Did you see any of the leftist Marxist mindset in prison? Or was it not, was it?
They weren't as, how do I say that, organized. There were the people that were demented, that were classified as what we would call emu. We call them emu,
emotionally disturbed.
Yes.
But did you see that this leftist type of push in the like the Black Lives Matter, which is clearly Marxist? Did you see people vying to try to convince, like, was there recruiting going on inside the prison for Marxism or for communism?
A little bit. It was more for defunding the police.
So that was already in there.
Yes, you could see them wanting to get together to defund the police so then people could get out of jail. Less people from the streets would be incarcerated, more for their kind of play, not really a governmental type thing.
Right.
So, but yes, you did see that kind of organization starting to build. And then when I get out, I see it really building in those neighborhoods where those people came from.
Right.
So it's really affecting them, and they're not seeing that on the inside. And I think if they seen that on the inside, I don't think that they would be acting the way they did.
It's interesting. I wish there was a way for me to explore to see how much they're doing inside prisons, because a lot of these people that are which you've seen firsthand, a lot of the people that are committing violent acts in these protests are felons.
Yes, they are.
I'm wanting to know if they got recruited while they were in or after they got out.
It could be while they were in. It would be an easy way. I mean, it's a controlled market. They're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
And I mean, if you put money on their books, of course they're going to go behind that motion. And if you were there when they get out to help them, of course.
So
it's super easy.
So you get out and you go to a protest, and when you saw what was happening on the other side, what would you see?
I seen that they were a bunch of demented and young white individuals. I hate saying it like that, but they are. They're standing there banging on pots and pans, yelling profanities, throwing piss and feces at cops, and acting irrational.
And that was in Chicago?
Yes, that was in Chicago. Yes, there were a few African Americans, but I would say 98% of them were white and were my age. There were a few that were older, but you did not see any military vets on that side. That is something I noticed, very prevalent, and you didn't really see too many people carrying kids. You did see on one of them, where I have on video, where a woman drags out, I believe, a 6-month-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you said you saw that a lot, or in Kenosha you saw it as well.
Yes, I seen it in Kenosha a couple times, and then I seen it in downtown Chicago at the defund CPD, cop-out CPS.
The way you described it to me, it sounds like they're using children as human shields.
Yes, and broadcasting it all over that, see, they're peaceful and they're able to have the kids out there. But in reality, as you see on my videos, that these people aren't peaceful at all. If you go one bit against what they think, they are turning against you.
Right. Okay, so you go to this protest, and then you were hooked from there?
Yes.
See, here's a problem I'm having. I've been to a ton of these Back to Blue protests. I think we need to get to a point where we're backing freedom, back to Constitution protests, and standing against the left protests. Because I said this before, and I've talked to a lot of cops. The cops are in a sticky position now because, like what's happened with Kyle, the guy that killed two people and shot a third in Kenosha, Wisconsin, who was clearly defending himself, had been out there. Yes, he was 17, but he was out there with a group of people who were trying to protect the neighborhood. He stopped a fire that was being lit in a dumpster, and then these people turn on him. And he's defended himself. He got separated from the group, and he defended himself. And they're turning him into like some kind of right wing racist when everybody he shot was white. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but police officers are now in a position where they're going to have to choose. And quite frankly, I support law enforcement. I mean, I was a cop. I support law enforcement tremendously and through, but we're at a point now where they're going to have to choose. And the reality is they're going to have to choose for the right reason. And it's going to be because of the Constitution, which they swore an oath to. And I think we need to start having these rallies to support the Constitution, to stand for freedom. And if the police want to join us, then they join us. But the Back to Blue stuff that's going on, I've seen too many circumstances when the right people are doing something and they fail to protect them. And what it gets reported in the media is that Trump racists show up and fight peaceful protesters, and law enforcement in the way that they're working with these leftist mayors and leftist sheriffs and leftist chiefs. They aren't stopping any of the riots. They're not stopping. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you should be able to riot at somebody's home. It doesn't say that you should be able to riot anywhere you want. It doesn't say you should be able to riot or protest and burn stuff down. And the police are not stopping it.
Right.
So if they all stood together in as one and stood up against these leftists, we would stand with them. I'm not seeing that. In fact, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing them arrest good law-abiding people who show up to do the right thing. And those people are being put in a predicament because they're not being backed by the blue.
Yes.
The blue wants us to back them. They need to back us.
Yes, that's what I always say. Back the blue like they back you. And here recently, actually,
but if they don't back us, then they're going to have to face this on their own, because we got to do what people have to do what they have to do, and that is stand up against the leftists.
That is true. That's why I've been actually telling business owners and homeowners that if you are able to legally carry, you can stay in your home and your business, and when those looters come in, you can protect your livelihood. In most states, you would have to look it up in whatever state you're in just to make sure. So don't quote me on that.
Right.
But you can do that, and that actually would help law enforcement to know that, okay, this block has this many said individuals who are business owners who are carrying, so we don't have to worry about this block or this block or this block. So then they can focus all their resources on the certain areas to keep them out. So like in Kenosha, they focused their area on the courthouse, which then in return let the downtown area fall and lapse, and they ended up burning most of the downtown area. Now, if the business owners would have been informed, which this is something that I find very interesting, the cops in Kenosha and the sheriff's department had an emergency order issued asking them to leave their residence because of what was going to go on. Now, if they would have informed them to stay there and to protect themselves, a bunch of those businesses wouldn't have been burned down.
Well, how about this? How about law enforcement doesn't let those people do what they want to do?
Exactly.
Why would they be warning people to leave their businesses and homes because what may occur? Why don't they step up to the plate and not allow this movement of rioters to prevail?
Because it comes from the higher up who are Democrat. I hate saying it that directly, but that's what it is. It's not, if you look on my videos, all these little what we call little men, but they're the street working cops, they want to do that. But it's their bosses who are telling them, no, you have to stand there and be impeded with a homemade explosive and a toaster to your head.
And see, that's,
all night.
To me, that is not the way law enforcement, and that is not what mayors, and that's not what the relationship should be. They swear an oath to the Constitution and to their states. They do not swear an oath to the mayor And when the mayor does these things, I think that the law enforcement, see, here's again the problem, that a lot of these chiefs are embedded in the Democrat Party. A lot of these sheriffs are embedded in the Democrat Party. And there's where the problem lies. That's what I think gives the president the right to step up to the plate and actually step in with federal law enforcement. Okay, so you go to this rally. When was your next rally?
For the next one for Back to Blue events, it's going to be coming.
No. Oh. You went to Chicago.
Yes.
And then when was your next one after that? Your very first one. When did you do it again?
The next one I went was with, I think it was in Skonoki or Shannon, Illinois. It was a Back to Blue events. There was a couple people talking to it.
And how long ago was this?
It was about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
So all this spun up really quick for you.
Yes, it went very quickly. And I had noticed because, of course, Back to Blue events isn't the only Back to Blue across the country. And I had noticed that there were a lot of people showing up to these, but I never noticed anybody showing up to these counter protests that were going on. So that's when I decided to try and just have my own Back to Blue kind of event and counter protest Black Lives Matter and Antifa at their Break the Piggy Bank fundraiser in downtown
Where was that
Chicago.
At? Downtown Chicago.
Yes, it was by the Whitney Young High School, and they marched down to the Fraternal Order of Police headquarters. That's actually where that picture was taken. So
now the picture you talk about it was shown on Fox News.
Yes.
And it's a picture of all the Black Lives Matter and Antifa people on the right. You're in the middle, and then a whole line of law enforcement on the left standing against the protesters. Now, what made you walk in between them? What you were by yourself? Did you have anybody with you?
Nobody was with me at all.
Wow.
I walked in between them because I wanted to show that I may be one voice, but I know that there's more to me. You know what I mean? I come as one person, but there's a legion behind me, kind of thing.
And you walk up in there. What does it say on your sign?
Back to Blue. Plain and simple. Me and my daughter painted it. It came from Dollar Tree.
And you walked right up in between these two groups. They're about 10 feet apart.
Yes.
And you held up your sign. Did you show the police?
Yes. I actually, as I was walking up there because I had to walk with the BLM and Antifa, so they were yelling at me, and you can see it all on live videos. I walk up past the cops and tell them all thank you before I stand in front of them. So they know, hey, I'm here. Thank you very much. And they all were very receptive. Some of them tried to shake my hand and everything. And while I was standing there, you wouldn't believe how many of them were just saying, keep going, honey. We love you, honey. And just, it was so amazing. I couldn't believe it. And then afterwards, I've seen a couple of them who were standing there because they were doing the bike duty. And they said, if anything would have happened, we would have came forward and just surrounded you. You would have been just fine. It meant the world to them, me just standing there. And I mean, I didn't think at any time that they could have flipped on me.
Right.
But to me, they're just a pack of wild wolves that are just howling, and they're not going to, you know what I mean, until that one time, and then they're going to go crazy. So I know it's coming.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about their behavior. You have experience in having been on drugs, admittedly, and you've seen people who are... do you think these people are on drugs? And if they were, what would you say that they might be on?
I would assume that they are on top of some type of hallucinogen, or
because
meth, or
they,
something.
They're
that
just escalated to the point where they're wanting to fight no matter what.
Yes. Yeah. And usually like a Molly substance will do that, or a meth. I know that there's a couple diet pills out there that give that same racy feeling that could keep them going. But some of it, I hate to say, is instilled in their brains already.
Yeah.
That they maybe weren't brought up the right way, or maybe they fell into the wrong area. And also maybe they just want a paycheck, because as we know, they are getting paid. A lot of them are. So
have you found out how much some of them got paid?
$500. I have it on one of my videos.
$500 to be there that night raising cane.
Yep. And they actually have security crew, which I don't know exactly how much they are paid, but you can see them in a lot of my videos. They wear yellow bands on their arms.
They're security.
They're perimeter security.
So what do they do as perimeter security?
They just walk around, make sure that there's no issues going on, make sure that there's nobody being, they call aggravator or aggravating them. And if they do, that they're supposed to go and engage with them and try and get them removed from the area.
You're talking about somebody from the other side.
Yes. So
this is how organized that they really are.
Oh yeah, actually I shared on the thing of their map of how they organize and how they move and how they have their sign place when they go to do their riots and their looting. And then I also shared the one of how they do it when they're just doing their basic protest and how they have their bike brigade in certain areas so then they can field off if law enforcement or other people were to come in. And one of the individuals that was following me around, an older gentleman, he has been at every single event. I don't know exactly
how old when you say old.
I would say he's at least 66 or so, maybe 70, white male, tall. But he has been at every event.
Have you had pictures of him?
Yes, because he follows me around and he says some very mean things to me.
We need to get that picture and circulate that around.
Yes. I have a picture of a couple people that probably should be circulated around because some of the things that they say, they agree to being a commie and doing crazy things and wanting to oust the president and the police. Right. So.
Okay, so that's interesting. Describe their behavior a little bit more when they when they start escalating. Do you see individuals escalating or is it a group escalation?
It starts off usually as one and then it goes to the whole group immediately. Like soon as that one person pops off, the whole group will come. If you see at the defund CPD and CPS or cop out CPS thing that was on Madison and State.
Where was that at?
Madison and State Street in downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
I went and I sat across the street from peacefully. I was not saying anything to them. I was sitting there with my sign. One lady came up, said talking about what was on my sign. I told her what was on the sign. She then proceeded to call me a bunch of names and dance with her butt in my face. And so I got up and I proceeded to kind of dance with them and yell, back the blue, back the blue. And that's when the whole crowd came over with their loud phones in my face. They were spinning on me. They were literally pushing on me. That's when law enforcement came and grabbed me and said, hey, we want you to kind of step back. We don't want you to get hurt. So, and you can really see it in one of my videos. It's really crazy because right after that, they were all having their thing on their phone, sharing my pictures. And ABC 7 News comes out. And that lady goes and talks to the two organizers, which one of them I was talking about just a few minutes ago. Those two organizers then get everybody together in the center. They all sit them down. They start recording the ABC interview thing. I say, hey, to one of the cops over my shoulder, look at this. He's like, yeah, that happens at every single one of them. I said, not anymore. So I took my sign and I ran through their news interview. They literally got so mad at me. They got up and started yelling at me again.
Wow. So he was saying that every protest they sit down with ABC or one of these other news
and they do a fake little talk of how they want this and how they want that and this and that, and that's all fake. That is all for the news because once that leaves, then you see the real vulgarity. Go out there sometime with me and stand and you will see the true people. You will see what really lies behind this hidden agenda.
So coordinated. And this is what I keep trying to tell people is that, this is so coordinated compared to like a regular protest where people, where somebody like a child gets killed and people show up because they want to protest, which never seems to happen in the black community. But somebody gets killed or let's say, a perfect example of this, union workers. When something happens, they want to get their pay and they're having contract issues. They show up and they're organized, but it's strictly focused on this one particular thing. And they're led by, somebody in the union who is organizing the protest, and they sit there and they protest and nothing really becomes of it. And the organization says, we're going to stay here. We're told to be here. And this is where we're going to, a lot of times in New York City, they put up a big blow up rat and they protest right there. What I'm seeing with these people is tactical organization where they have this stuff laid out so well. They have the propaganda, they have the counter strike people or security people, whatever you want to talk about. They pick specific locations, they target specific businesses, and they go to specific cities where the mayors are Democrat and liberal. You're not seeing any of these groups go to states or cities where they're going to get their asses handed to them. You don't see that.
No, you do not see that. It's all democratically funded. From that to the way things operate. I was doing a little bit of research on this, and I found out that their lawyers are from the University of Illinois, Chicago. You can go right onto their thing and see it. Then you can also go and find who supplies their pizza. You can find out who supplies everything. And most of those are business owners, and most of the people that are trying to get things pushed and get funding are Democrats. One is running against Mark Curran. And I wanted to show you that picture a little later. He was giving out masks and food at a BLM rally in Chicago. So he's running as an independent. Though he is not Democrat, he clearly has his hand in there.
He's Democrat.
Yes. And then we also see where ComEd is offering defund CPD classes. I shared that on my Protest the Protesters thing. ComEd, as we know, has big ties to Mike Madigan.
What is ComEd?
ComEd is the power company up here in Illinois. As we know, they had a big thing with Madigan. The scheme going. And obviously that's a Democrat, and obviously we know his hand reaches pretty far in different places.
Right.
So it's very, very good that you guys reach out and try and dig yourself and see what you can find, because there is a lot there that will open your eyes to how entwined they are into the system.
Now I'm going to play this video. So you've gone to how many different protests before you got to Kenosha?
4.
And was this before or after the shooting?
This was the night before the shooting.
Okay, this is the night. Were you there when the shooting happened?
No, I was not.
Okay, so this is the night before the shooting. So let's set this up real quick where the video starts.
Okay, this is in downtown Kenosha on 160th and 111th Street. It is in front of a mattress store. What you're going to see is the owner of the business come out with a fire extinguisher, and he is going to try and protect his business by spraying it on the looters and intruders who are coming out the back door with alcohol. At that point, one of the people that have alcohol walk up to him and punch him in the face and in the stomach, and he is knocked unconscious. So it was pretty wild.
So there is some pretty prolific language in this, and you if you see it, you'll understand why. If you go to Protest the Protesters, took me a little bit to find it on YouTube, but it's on YouTube, and that is Emily's YouTube page.
And it's on Facebook too.
It's on Facebook as well, under Protest the Protesters?
Yep.
Okay. So this picks up, and you're going to hear Emily talking when she says, "I'm sorry about this. I'm not with them." And the guy who responds to her is the owner that she was just talking about.
Business caught on fire.
No, they're breaking. That's his glass.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm very sorry about that, man.
Yeah, really.
I had nothing to do with that. I'm trying to stop this shit here.
Okay, so at this point, it's on fire. The business is on fire?
Yes.
Business is on fire. You're hearing the glass breaking. People are inside the business.
Yes, stealing stuff, which I want to add this. The building was caught on fire by Antifa. I have the picture prior to where you started on the video of the man that threw the bottle in there that was a Molotov and had fireworks sticking out of the end.
Gotcha.
So. Dude, I'm going to help this guy. I don't give a fuck if I get beat up.
And that's you.
Yes, that is me.
Now, what he does is he has a fire extinguisher, and he starts spraying people with the fire extinguisher.
Yes.
And there's, I don't know, how many people would you say on the outside of the building?
Probably at least 15.
And how many on the inside?
There are at least 4 or 5 that came out.
On the inside of a burning building?
Yes.
Idiots. Okay.
Only trying to grab booze. That shows how smart they are.
So he's spraying people with the fire extinguisher.
They just threw a bottle at this guy.
He goes back to the doorway. He's spraying people as they come running out. Law-abiding citizens inside, upstanding members of the community, I'm sure, running out with liquor in their hands, and he's spraying them with the fire extinguisher. Now, I'm going to do a caveat here. It was worthless what he was doing. I mean, I feel for the guy. He was trying, but you don't show up to this type of a fight with a fire extinguisher. It's not going to work.
No!
Now, what just happened?
That is when a African-American male walked up to the business owner and punched him in his face, broke his jaw, actually.
Punched him or hit him with something?
Punched him in the face with his fist, and then punched him in the ribs. And then he fell to the ground unconscious. And that's when I proceeded, after the first punch, I started running up there at the guy, yelling, no, 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 no,
okay,
no.
So let's go. This is right when it happens again.
Hey, no,
He's down. He's out now. Did you think he was dead?
Yeah, because he was literally cold and his body went kind of stiff. So I thought that literally his heart had stopped. Maybe I had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
Sir. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Who's crying?
I was crying a little bit, and so was another lady.
Yeah, but you're talking. Somebody's crying. It's not somebody related to him.
No, that was probably the other lady that came running up to.
Okay.
Turn his head.
That's
Turn his
you.
head. He's drowning. He's drowning on his blood.
Was he?
I thought he could have been, because if they would have punctured his lung or
Yeah.
something, and I didn't want, if the nose was broke or anything was
Right.
broke in that area, for it to be gargling down in there.
Yeah.
Leave him there. Just leave him there.
Fire, it's his building.
It's his building. He was trying to defend his building, and they beat the shit out of him.
Put this under his head so he'll
Yes.
less on it.
Hey, I got you.
Here, put your leg on there.
Now, were you guys getting swarmed at this point?
Yes, I would say there was a crowd developing of maybe 20 or so. You can kind of see them in part of the video here when you play it back, and then you can see them actually engage in a conversation with me because of what I was saying about the man.
And are these people that you're there? How many people are trying to take care of him?
I would say there was 2 other individuals, and then another lady which knew him came up, and we said we were going to carry him across the street, and she went to go get her vehicle.
And did you guys carry him across the street?
Yes.
You got him out of there. And did police come?
No, the police had not come, and actually
Did they ever come?
No. He was taken by Yvonne, so.
He was what?
He was taken to the hospital by Yvonne.
Okay.
Are you all right? It's okay, buddy. It's all right. We're here for you. All right?
Now, what are they yelling in the background?
Some of them are yelling a bunch of profanities that make no sense at each other. Like, the fuck you doing here? And part of my French.
That's right.
Then they were yelling about grabbing some more booze out of the back of the building and this
Yeah.
and that. And I was just like, wow. Some of them were trying to give us medical assistance or, tell us how to treat him.
Yeah.
But they were just literally standing there. We got you. Hey, we got you. We got you, buddy. Hey, it's okay, man. It's okay.
Now, you're getting upset. I can tell you.
Hey, somebody got alcohol?
Go. We gotta go. We gotta get out of here. Go. I got it.
No.
Anybody else?
No. We need to move him across the street, though, because his building's on fire. Help us move him. We gotta move him. The building's on fire.
You're pretty amazing. I mean, the fact that you show up to this thing, you're not EMT, you're not law enforcement trained, and you're kind of guiding all these people to get him out. They're wanting to do stuff for him right there, and the building is literally an inferno right behind you.
Yeah. Help pick him up. Help pick him up and get him across the street, guys. Hey, move. Hold on. Wait. We got a down guy here. Hold on. Somebody call 911, please. Please call 911.
Hey, bottle of water.
Tip his head back a little bit.
Tip his head back. It's okay, sir. Sir, it's okay. Yeah, you don't want a blood. Drink it. There you go, sir. It's okay. There you go. No, we don't want him to drown on his blood. We don't want him to drown. It's okay, sir. It's okay, sir.
Oh, he's
Okay, take it. Hold on.
that's you now.
He's gonna be okay. You want some more water?
Are you okay? Are you sure? Are you okay? Here. No.
He's really pale.
Here, paper towels. Here, we got some paper towels for you, sir. Yeah, there you go, sir.
Make it face.
You hear that guy in the background?
What's he saying?
He actually cleared the streets. That was, I don't know his name, but he came through and said he was a 5th level Supreme, and him and his wife started yelling. He ripped his shirt off.
What's a 5th level Supreme? What is
It's a gangster's disciple.
Oh, really?
From back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So he's pretty wide known. And
he said
he came through literally.
Everybody get out of there.
Yes, you can hear him in the background saying, "Motherfuckers, you aren't from here. This is my town. This is my streets. You guys leave." And literally, they dispersed.
I didn't hear that.
You're gonna be okay. Just hold it. Just hold it there, and then everybody here is gonna.
And they walked up and fucked him up. Fucked him up. I have it all on video.
Listen,
all of
I don't
it.
give a fuck what anybody.
He didn't deserve any of that. Any of it.
Man, that's a very intense video. If everybody wants to go watch that, and you can hear. See, here's the thing that that strikes me out of all this is that here you are, a person who, you've had a rough time in life growing up. You got in some trouble. You came out of prison with the right mindset, surprised at the way things had changed in this world, and you have pretty much dedicated yourself to serving this nation against these leftists, putting yourself in harm's way, and in this case, helping protect a guy who had been attacked by the very people, these leftists, the very people that are destroying this country. And I go all over this country, and I can't get people who supposedly have lived a good life, the people who are successful in what they do, the people who have money, and they won't do anything. They won't do anything. Meanwhile, yourself, who, I didn't mean to make it sound like you have less than they do.
Yeah.
But you came straight from a bad place, right? And you're rebuilding your own life. You've stopped, and this has actually become part of you rebuilding your life. Mm-hmm. These people who sit on their couch and judge and say, this is terrible, I hate this, support the president, they never get up and do anything.
No, they don't. And one thing,
and you didn't lose anything by going. It's not like you went out there and you went out there and you risked your career or you risked your life. I mean, you did risk your life, but you went out there and you made a difference.
Right. And it was super easy. My one voice resonated through that whole crowd. It has every time. Even at the last one, they literally stopped what they were doing and turned around and acknowledged me. I would say it was 250 people, I think is what they said on Twitter. They all turned around and started calling me a racist, a bunch of names, told me I was a drug addict, and made fun of my shoes. I mean, they couldn't come up with anything else. So
that's when you go on Twitter, they do the same thing.
Literally, it's a bunch of bullies.
Yeah.
And then they're actually funded bullies, so they're enjoying it. And that's what's really sad right now is they're even putting it into our schools. I don't know if you've seen that, but some of the
we've seen it.
E-learning and some of the colleges are doing defund the police type of training or education classes, and that shouldn't even be there. Otherwise, we are going to start breeding a bunch of people that are demented leftists that are going to tear us apart. If we don't stand up and do something about it, even if it's just liking this and sharing it to your friends and your neighbors that are around you, that at least does something. Or if you see something on Facebook that they have some type of YouTube channel, go on there and report that YouTube channel over and over and over until YouTube says, okay, yes, that is an attack against the government. Because everything that they're doing is technically an attack on the government and would normally in any other situation be took as an attack on the president of the United States and the government. But because of it being an election season and the political climate we're in, it's not.
Right.
These people are being caught with cans of gasoline, fireworks, raid stuff, homemade explosives, and yet they do not go as terrorists. They only go for disorderly conduct.
Right. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier today. We were driving around looking at different things. I got to see the hotel where Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, part of that was filmed, which was really cool. And with John Candy and Steve Martin, if you've never gotten to see that, it's a great movie. But what is happening in these protests is exactly what's going to riots. I shouldn't call them protests. These riots is exactly the same thing that you've seen historically in areas where they're starting to teeter to the leftist, and where they start to break down. Those people start to become stronger and stronger, because then they start to use guns. Then the cops will start to back them, or they won't stop what's going on. And then in certain cases, the cops actually become part of them. Mm-hmm. And so, we're in a very edgy predicament right here, where we're at the point, almost the point of no return. And just one other thing I want to ask you: when you go there and you've seen this, how real is it?
It is very real. It's 100% real. And that's something I would like to bring that to the listeners and the viewers, is how real this is, because here soon it's going to be at your doorstep. Here soon it's going to be at your pet store. It's going to be at your business, and you're not going to be able to take your kids to school. You're not going to be able to go to Macy's or Goodwill or wherever you want to shop, because it's boarded up and been looted. And
it's not a tinfoil hat thing. We're not making this out to sound like it's something that's not. You've actually been there.
Yes.
You've actually been on the ground.
Yes.
It's not like everybody around here says, that's awful, this is horrible, this could spill out. That's not conspiracy theory.
No, it's not. It is 100% facts. That I have it on video at Protest to Protesters on Facebook and on YouTube. You can see them doing it. You can see them walking up to these businesses in Kenosha, literally throwing things in the window to catch them on fire and breaking them. So the people in the city then...
It must be amazing seeing people do that.
Oh, it is. It is. And I try to show in their faces as I'm doing it, like, hey, this is a guy that just threw that in the video. This is a guy that hit the guy. This is a guy or the lady that threw the bottle that made the explosion. Or this is where that cement, because there was a couple cement-filled bottles in my videos. They take Gatorade bottles and different 2-liter bottles and fill them up with instant cement, and then throw them at law enforcement, throw them through the windows, and throw them at you. So
how many of those people do you think at that point where you were at, or rioters who were from the community who were just bad, just they don't care one way or the other, and how many of them were actually people who were brought in to riot?
99.9% of them were brought in to riot, and you can see it in my videos.
And then the looters just take advantage of it.
Yes, and the looters just take advantage.
Who was the guy that hit him, you think? Was that a looter, or was that one of these people?
It was a local. So I found that out.
It was somebody who was there. Now, were they a part of the Black Lives Matter, or were they just a looter?
They were just trying to get a quick come up, as we call it. They were trying to get a quick lick because they seen that the window was busted out, and so they went in there to get it, just like one of the other ladies.
And he ran up and busted that dude to knock him out.
Yes. So, and it made no sense. Then I have in that video that you just showed, if you go further at the beginning of it, you can see that man break a window, and then somebody that obviously lives pretty close goes in and grabs a big, huge vase and a bunch of stuff for them and their kids, and they take off down the road. So they knew, the locals knew that Antifa and Black Lives Matter were going to do this. So they just waited till they broke it and took advantage of it. I mean, they're in a situation to where that is their way to get money. And it doesn't help that a lot of these people that are organizing these events then sit there and say, yes, go do this. If you need money, this is what you can do, because this is where they're going to be and going to be doing it. So that's what you've seen in downtown Chicago this past weekend. They boarded everything up. They tried to make sure that didn't happen like it happened in Kenosha. And thank goodness CPD and everybody did keep that from happening. But it's going to happen in rural areas. It already is. Look at Kenosha. I mean, and look at Portland.
Explain to people everywhere. What Kenosha, how big Kenosha is.
Kenosha is probably, 18,000 people.
It's not
even
big.
Not even big at all.
Yeah.
I think it's under 30,000, I believe. But it's not even big at all. I think there's probably a few gas stations in there. The courthouse is decent size, but it's not big at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, who could say that one time, I hate saying it like this, but any local police department is one bad video away from this happening.
Of course.
Because somebody get the wrong angle on a takedown,
which they did
something
in this case.
like that. Yep. That goes viral.
Yeah.
Antifa and Black Lives Matter is now in Galesburg, Illinois.
Yeah.
Is a town of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Or it's in Harvard, or little towns around here. So it's literally, okay, there is 100,000 people in Kenosha.
But it's not a big city.
No,
it's not a big city. Yeah, it's not
all.
huge.
No, it's not huge at all. So
I think we'll call it there. Okay. We're going to, and I can't thank you enough. Tell everybody where they can find you, your different websites and all this.
Okay. They can find me on Protest to Protesters on Facebook and Back the Blue Events on Facebook. I just started a YouTube channel, which is Protest to Protesters, but you'll be able to find that on the Facebook page. And I also want to thank you for having me on. I enjoyed this. Enjoyed getting the word out.
And I want to tell everybody real quick about the app that you're developing, which I think is phenomenal.
Okay, yeah. Scribbles, which is for pen pals. As you know, I was in prison, and I noticed that Paper Dolls and Writer Prisoner were really scamming the people out of their pen pal ads. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I take the person's information and picture, and I put it online, and then I get that person letters during regular mail calls. So they might get 4 letters a month. They might get 8 letters a month. So that's going to be coming out on an app. So
and that letters, are those on their tablet or those are actually written?
It's handwritten letters for now until I can figure out some type of agreement or some way to work with Securus and GTL to make it actually into their messaging app.
Love that. Scribbles. And can people use that now or no, that's in development?
Not yet. We are still in developmental stage. It is called test flight, which I'm just feeling things out right now. It'll probably be another few weeks before that is out, but you can always go to scribblesInmateService.com and you can see the different packages that can be purchased and sign your loved one up for a catalog.
Gotcha. And what was the other thing I was going to ask you? Have you joined connectzing.com?
No, I have not.
Then you need to join that. That's my buddy's Drago, who's in the second episode of the Experts podcast. He was born in socialist Poland. He was part of the Freedom Underground and was put in a communist prison for 3 years for having a typewriter. And got out, became American, came to the United States, became an American citizen, joined the Navy the day he became a citizen, and was a Navy SEAL for 20 years. And now he's a computer programmer and a father, an incredible man, and he has started connectzing.com. I'm on there, and basically it's a Facebook killer, Twitter killer. It's really great. Yeah. Okay. A lot of patriots going over there to join that. So
I definitely will check that out.
Yeah, got it. So thank you very much, Emily Cahill. Thank you very much for all that you do. Our prayers are with you. You stay on the straight and narrow path and with your daughter and continue to success in your patriotic ways. You're now like the evolution of Paul Revere. You're the Paul Revere-ette of 2020.
Paul Revere-ette.
That's right. Paulette Revere. That's your name. Paulette Revere. That's your code name. Great. Paulette Revere.
My code name's Dead Unicorn.
Dead Unicorn. Not anymore. Now it's Paulette Revere. I just changed it.
Paulette Revere.
All right. God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you too. Thank you, guys.
You got it. So there you go, folks. That is today's podcast, and I want to thank Emily Cahill, as I just said there, for coming on the show and sharing her life story, going from in trouble, in prison, out to becoming an incredible patriot, and actually being a voice that you can listen to that is on the ground for many of these protests that turned riot. The reality is they're riots. These leftist pushed riots that are happening all over the country. As Emily says, and as I've been telling you, you have to get up and you have to start taking charge of what's going on in your country. Stop worrying about what you have to lose if you get up and do what's right. Start worrying about what you're going to lose if you don't do anything, because ultimately that is where you will lose everything. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and we're out of here.